everybody. We're back. Happy New Year 2017. Hope you missed us. We're back with the Ghostwood, the Twin Peaks podcast. I'm Charles Skaggs. With me as always, Xan Sprouse. Yep. So, welcome back. Hope you guys enjoyed the first episode. We certainly enjoyed talking, if you can tell by the time limit on that one.
Yes, we did.
We enjoyed talking Twin Peaks, so we're back, obviously, with more. This week we're going to talk about another book, Twin Peaks book, novel, The Secret Diary of Laura Palmer, which came out in 1990, written by David Lynch's daughter, Jennifer Lynch, and it was published by Pocket Books, so I have to give them props because Pocket Books was, of course, the publisher that published my Star Trek story back in Star Trek Strange New Worlds. So
That's right, they did.
Giving support there, so hey, they paid me, so I can't talk crap about them. So
no, well, and any book is a gift that keeps on giving.
Exactly. So this one obviously intended as a tie-in to the first season of Twin Peaks, which was a very big pop culture phenomenon, and looking forward to talking about this with you, Xan. This is a dark book, as you well know.
It is a very dark book, and I'm looking forward to talking about it with you as well. This is one of those that I read a little later,
right,
than when it came out. My copy of the book still has the Half Price Books sticker,
right,
stain in it, and it definitely is a companion piece to the show. It is not something that you can pick up and really catch much if you haven't seen the show, or at least know who some of the main characters are. You need at least a 101 of the show to catch this book. And I remember when I was in high school last episode, I told the story of my of how so many people in my high school were big Twin Peaks fans. And there was one girl in particular, my friend Krista, who read this book. And the day after the episode aired where we find out who killed Laura Palmer,
right,
I came up to talk to her and say, hey, what did you think? She said, oh my God, the diary makes so much more sense now. So
right.
That's a perfect example of how this book is definitely intended to be a companion piece. And for you to learn more about Laura, because Laura's not in Twin Peaks very much. Laura's not, no. We don't see much of her. We get introduced to her as her corpse. So
yeah, people talk about Laura, but as a character, as a personality, you don't really get to know her until and with this diary, it definitely fills in a lot of the continuity gaps. As you said, it helps you understand, especially the first season, a lot better.
Yes, and
it definitely enhances the overall story. It's obviously in canon, so so definitely looking forward to talking about it with you as it kind of essentially it came out after the first season of Twin Peaks, and we got some feedback now that I'm thinking about it from Jeff Gentry. So cheers, Jeff. Hope you made it back for episode 2. But Jeff Jeff was a little concerned because he expressed a little concern that last time we talked about the secret history of Twin Peaks, and some of it was a little over his head because he hadn't finished the series. So
true, and that book is very dense, and I think it is. We definitely are. You and I are definitely pretty hardcore Twin Peaks fans.
Just a wee bit.
So I think what we consider quote unquote common knowledge is not necessarily as common as we think it is, because this is a world and characters that we've lived with for 25 years. And not everyone's done that. However, I will say that Twin Peaks is very much a deep subject.
Right.
That there's not skimming Twin Peaks. So once you're into it, you're in. Is how I feel about it. And so I think that's why I like this diary so much, because you get really in with this. And I know that as the series went on, and when I look back on the series, when I think about it, and when I think about Laura Palmer, I think about how much I love her. And how much she breaks my heart and what a sad character she is. And I think a lot of that is from this diary and what I learned about her from this diary.
She's about as tragic a character as it gets,
especially
especially since this diary starts off when she's only 12 years old and very innocent.
Very innocent.
And you watch that gradual corruption of her soul, literally.
Yes. Literally
yes. in the process. So it's very tragic, and we'll get into that. But so yeah, this is obviously, this material's been out for 25 years, so no spoiler warnings. It's been out for 25 years.
I guess spoiler warnings with our podcast, we sometimes do tend to go deep.
Right.
But we're not going so deep that you can't find your way to us.
Right.
This book, is this book still in print, or is it just available as an ebook?
This book, you mean? Yes, as we hold up both of our individual copies.
As we hold up both of our paperback copies that we've had forever.
Exactly. And I've managed to keep mine for paperback in pretty good condition, I think.
Yeah, mine's pretty good too.
Yep. So
maybe
a little cracking along the fold.
Yes.
But that's to be expected, because if you
it is a diary, it gets used a lot.
But the spine's not broken, so I try to take good care of my books. So yeah, it was just something that it came out after the first season, and if kind of Twin Peaks was a very kind of big into the pop culture scene at that time. Really, it was almost like the first, internet buzzworthy show before the internet.
Yes.
It was the Westworld of its day, it
was very word of mouth.
Exactly, or the Walking Dead, or the Game of Thrones of its day. It was that show.
And the people who were talking about it could not stop talking about it.
Yes.
And
because it was just so unlike anything on television. So then when this came out, it was just one of those things you had to have, because you were dying to learn more about Laura and the mystery.
You just wanted more.
And you hope that you kept pouring through it, looking for clues for season 2.
Yes.
In the hopes that it would give you some insight.
You just wanted anything. Twin Peaks, the first season of Twin Peaks was a half season.
Right. It was only 8 episodes.
So you didn't get much of it, but you absolutely fell in love with it.
You loved what you got.
So you wanted as much more as you possibly could. And there were a lot of things out there that were unofficial and unlicensed and things like that. Mm-hmm. And I will say about our podcast is we are not discussing any of that kind of stuff. Anything that we do talk about, even if we do get in deep with it, if we get deep into the folklore of Twin Peaks, everything we're talking about is available to you. So if you wanted to read the diary, if you haven't read the diary before this episode, it is available. Digital copies of it, it's available digitally.
Right.
The Secret History of Twin Peaks is great. Oh, goodness. Sorry. Time to feed the cat. Darn it!
Yes.
So there are... The Secret History of Twin Peaks just recently came out, so it's still in print. It's still available. And, of course, Twin Peaks itself is available on Blu-ray. I highly recommend anybody who's interested buying it, because it's fantastic. Mm-hmm. Not just packaging, but content as well. There's everything you would ever want.
The entire mystery, which is no longer now the entire mystery.
Which is now no longer the entire mystery, exactly. And, of course, Fire Walk With Me is still available on DVD. So we might seem like we're getting really deep into things, but we're not.
Yeah.
We're not an exclusive club. We're not talking about our fan fiction or, early internet theories that were passed around or anything like that. Nothing we talk about isn't accessible to anyone else.
Right.
So
basically, if you watch the first season of the show, you shouldn't be lost by this. What we're discussing.
You're going to know who we're talking about. You're going to
So if you don't want it spoiled and you haven't watched the first season, well, what the hell's wrong with you? Go watch Twin Peaks and then come back. We'll be here.
Go do it. We're here for you, and we will always talk about Twin Peaks forever. So we're not going anywhere.
Exactly. So all right. So let's get into the discussion, and let's see. Or do we want to talk about Miguel first?
We should talk about Miguel Ferrer. Miguel Ferrer, who played Albert Rosenfeld, the FBI agent and forensic specialist on Twin Peaks, passed away today at the age of 61 of throat cancer. So today is a sad day
Yes.
And for, for Twin Peaks fans and for movie fans, those of you who might not realize this, Miguel Ferrer is also in RoboCop.
Yep. He had a pretty significant role in RoboCop.
He had a very significant role in RoboCop in the sense that he created RoboCop.
Yep. He's the ambitious little weasel that he had his little pet program.
Yes.
And,
yes,
took advantage of the situation to make Alex Murphy into RoboCop.
You see an opening and you go for it. Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Bob Morton was his character in RoboCop, and he was disgusting, but in that Paul Verhoeven way that you just still love him anyway.
Right.
And he, and more recently he had been on CSI,
mm-hmm.
and he had been in, which Iron Man movie was it? Iron Man 3?
I believe so.
I think so too. And he has, since Twin Peaks, he's been one of my all-time favorite actors. I think he
turns up every so often. He's in Star Trek 3.
Yes, he is.
And, he's actually going to be doing the voice of Deathstroke in the upcoming Teen Titans, the Judas Contract animated movie.
I had not heard that.
It was
nice.
Yeah, they had just announced the cast list today of all days.
Oh, man.
Yeah. So,
wow.
So you'll get to hear him, there. I'm presuming he's already recorded his role because it'll be out soon with animation. We know he's going to be back for Twin Peaks because apparently they've already filmed. They completed filming, and David Lynch has shown the episodes to the suits at Showtime.
Right.
So we get to see him once again as Albert Rosenfeld, which is great.
It's good.
And also going to be sad at the same time.
It is going to be very sad at the same time. If you haven't gotten to any Albert episodes yet, you're in for a treat. If you like dry, sarcastic humor, you're going to drown in it. He's fantastic.
He was snarky before snark was invented.
Before we even had a word for snark.
Exactly.
Before
the word even existed, he was snark.
That was him. And Miguel Ferrer was also in another David Lynch production, On the Air.
Right.
His comedy show that lasted 7 episodes. And quite possibly my favorite performance by Miguel Ferrer was in that show, was in On the Air.
Yeah, you definitely need to check out On the Air. If you haven't already, track it down. It's definitely worth it. You said it was on YouTube?
I found it on YouTube with what I believe are Korean subtitles. Somebody who sees it and tells me what language they are, please let me know, because I'm not good with Asian alphabets. So let me know what it actually is. But yes, you can find it on YouTube.
And On the Air was also another Lynch Frost production.
Lynch Frost production, yes.
So, yep. Definitely worth checking out.
Other geeky stuff, he was in The Stand, the TV miniseries of The Stand.
I forgot about that, yes.
So, yes, and he comes from a famous family, too. His parents were Jose Ferrer and Rosemary Clooney.
Right. And Jose Ferrer, obviously in another David Lynch film, Dune. Yep.
As
Dune,
the Emperor.
Desert Planet.
Yes.
Yes.
He was the Emperor in Virginia Madsen's
Emperor
father.
Shaddam the Fourth.
Yes.
Shaddam the Fourth, I think. Yeah, Shaddam the Fourth.
Yep, that's him.
Yep.
And if you've ever seen Mel Brooks' remake of To Be or Not to Be,
right,
it's fantastic, and Jose Ferrer is in that as well.
Yep.
So
yeah,
yes,
big loss to Twin Peaks fans. So
yes, absolutely.
So I guess we're dedicating this episode to him in his memory.
Absolutely, we are.
So, all right,
he will be greatly missed, and my heart goes out to the Ferrer Clooney family, including his cousin George Clooney. They are cousins.
Right.
So
at least we get to see him one more time as Albert.
I'm very excited that we get to see him.
Now I'm really looking forward to seeing him as Albert again.
I can't wait.
Yeah.
I can't wait. And I will admit, I know I said last time that I'm trying to avoid anything on the internet about it, but one of the things I do when someone I really admire passes away is on Facebook, I'll make them my profile photo.
Right.
And maybe post some videos of things that I liked just to have as the least I can possibly do to commemorate someone who meant something to me. And I was looking through some photos, and I found some photos that look kind of like Albert could possibly be that, and it's very exciting.
Oh, so you saw some spoilery photos.
I did. I kind of scrolled past them, but they really looked kind of Albert-y, so...
And you're like, damn it.
Like, oh, come on. No, not this one. Go to the RoboCop.
Not looking. Click. All right, so let's get into the main discussion.
Let's rock.
Had to throw that in there. Um, so the secret. All right. So the Secret Diary of Laura Palmer. Um, I was trying to figure out how to arrange this discussion, and I decided that to break it down by year
Okay.
because just because it is a diary, you go through year by year. You obviously with this particular diary, you skip some months. There's a lot of gaps.
Yes.
Some of them deliberate, some of them not deliberate because pages are ripped out.
Right.
So, so I thought we go into breaking down year by year. So like Laura at 12, Laura at 13, etc. So let's start with Laura at 12. And
Laura at 12 is Laura gets this diary for her 12th birthday.
right,
And one of the things I love about this book is that it does not screw around. We get right into it with Laura and her psyche. Her first entry is talking about her birthday and what she got and how it was everything she wanted and how she's going to spend it with her best friend Donna Hayward, and her cousin Maddie's coming. And the very last sentence of the first entry is, I hope Bob doesn't come tonight.
right. It hits you right out of the gate.
Yes.
Just that hint of darkness, like because Laura starts off like just a typical like little girl, like all excited, hey, it's my birthday and I got this great diary and all this stuff's going on, and then there's that dark undertone,
Yes.
that
It
first
just
hint, and you're
hits you
just
right with it. It doesn't mess around. It's just, we're right there.
right. So then you're like, and you read that first line and you're wondering, okay, so what happens when Bob shows up? Is it as bad as I think it's going to be? Oh, it's worse.
It's worse,
It's worse
right?
than you think it is.
And that is something that, even if you haven't read this diary, if you've seen Fire Walk with Me,
Hmm.
we know that she's been getting habitually raped by Bob since the age of 12.
Right.
So it's not good, and it's
There's
immediately, you're reading it and you're like, oh shit, oh,
yeah.
that's right, this is Laura's diary. This is not good. This is not gonna be a positive thing.
No, I mean, yeah. There's obviously with Laura, if you watch the show at all, presuming so, since you're here, um, tons of sexual abuse, drugs, alcohol, people dying, people getting killed, and all kinds of stuff. But here at 12, it just things are very innocent. You you see her optimism. She ends up getting a pony, Troy.
Troy the pony,
Troy the pony.
from who she thinks is from her father.
Right. She thinks it's from her father. As far as she knows, it's from her father because her father says, "Hey, I got you a pony."
Hey, I have a surprise. Get in the
Yeah,
car. And
yeah,
they drive to
exactly.
stables and
And
they
of
meet
course,
Troy the pony.
she's all like, excited because she's wanted a pony forever, and like I will brush him and name him George and well Troy, but
Hug him and
hug
kiss him
him
and name him Troy.
exactly. I will hug him and kiss him and name him Troy exactly. And so she's writing a lot about Donna and her cousin Maddie, we find out is 4 years older than her.
Yes.
So Maddie's a little more experienced, been around the block a little more, obviously. At this
She
point,
had
at this point, she's actually looking forward to her period.
Yes. Yes. She's looking forward to anything that is going to make her more grown up.
Right,
And like most young people, that's what they can't wait to
right.
do, is grow up. And so, unfortunately, little does Laura know what she has in store for her.
Hmm.
And so she's looking forward to not only getting her period, but when she and Maddie and Donna are all together in the fort they've built and they're all writing in their diary,
In the backyard.
Laura's in the backyard. Yes.
Yeah.
Laura's so excited to have a full, thick diary like Maddie's. Maddie's is so full and has so much written in it, and she keeps thinking about how that must be so many wonderful experiences
I'm
she's
going to write
had.
so much in you diaries, and we're going to make hers look pitiful by comparison.
Exactly, exactly. She's so excited to be older and more grown up and have more grown up experiences, not just more experiences in general, but more grown up experiences with boys and cigarettes and drinking and things like that.
And so she's obviously in that tween stage at this point.
very positive, very happy, very sweet girl, but very sad underneath.
Right.
She doesn't feel like she can really talk to anybody about these weird thoughts she's having, and especially not about Bob.
Right. Because starts having these strange dreams about, Bob, who, as far as she knows, is just this creepy guy with long hair. We don't quite find out how she knows his name is Bob, unless he told
I don't
her.
think we ever figure that out, do we?
I don't think so.
I don't think we ever figured that out anywhere. That's what he's called.
Right.
He is Bob.
Yeah.
And that's all we know.
Right. So Maddie kind of gets her started on cigarettes at first. Like the typical like, hey, I've got a packet of cigarettes and you want to try some, and then
you want to try one? Here, let me teach you how to kiss. This is how I kiss my boyfriend. And
yeah.
Those very, I think
girly.
Jennifer Lynch does a very good job of probably reaching back into her own childhood and remembering what it is like to be a young girl.
That's what I kind of wonder. That's what I kind of wonder is like how much of this is actually Jennifer Lynch's life as a.
My God, I hope for her sake none of it.
That's a great answer.
I will say that as a former little girl myself,
right. I have not had that experience.
You have not had that experience,
unless it was a past life or something. But
well, you're probably not going to remember it very well.
Exactly.
Compared to your boyhood, childhood.
Yes.
When you are a young person, and I'm sure this is the same for boys as well, but I know I can speak for myself as a girl, that every experience you have, you feel it 100 times more than anything. That since everything is new, everything is surprising and thrilling and fascinating, and every little thing that you do makes you feel that much more of an adult and that much more like you have your shit together, which, spoiler alert, kids, never happens.
Right.
And when I was reading this diary, I remember thinking, oh my gosh, I remember this kind of thing where all these little things would happen to me. Things that I would think now as an older person are sort of blow off experiences. Right. And
does it give you some flashbacks? Like, does it recall anything from your own childhood?
It does in the sense of, especially where she and Donna are at the book house and they give fake names and they make up stories about where they're really from.
Right.
When I was growing up, my friend Nicole and I used to do that. We would we never went out naked out in the lake with anybody.
I was going to say, unless there was a skinny dipping story in there somewhere.
No, but. there's no, that was just with people my own age. But one of the things that we would do is back in the 90s here in Columbus, which is where Charles and I both live.
Right.
There was a mall downtown called City Center. It was
City Center.
It was our big mall, big anchor stores, Marshall Fields,
Memories,
Jacobson's, and because it was downtown,
the Warner Brothers store.
I
miss that store so much.
It had a record town and a music land. That's how awesome that mall was.
Yep.
And because it was downtown, people from all over the city, all the neighborhoods of the city would come to this mall. And so it wasn't like your local mall where you just see people that you went to school with. You'd meet other people and other boys from other schools.
Ooh.
And you wouldn't necessarily want to tell them who you are.
Right.
So you would make up a more classy name, or you say that you were from a ritzier neighborhood in town, or
so what was your alias, or don't you want to say?
Oh my gosh,
do you remember?
I don't remember. Nicole's was Samantha. Maybe she'd remember what mine was.
Okay.
I don't remember.
All right, fair enough.
I did
was just
have
wondering.
one. I'm sure I had one because my name is so recognizable. I think there were times when I would just say that I was Alex.
Okay. That's good.
Because my full name is Alexandra. That's where Xan comes from, is from Alexandra. So I think I would just say that I was Alex. And so that one really struck a chord with me, was the meeting new boys and giving them a fake backstory as to who you were.
You come up with something really elaborate, or were you just trying to be just a little exaggerated?
Just a little exaggerated. Part of it was not wanting to give away who you were, and some of it, and another part of it was wanting to sound like you were cooler.
Right.
You know, you had a cooler name. We were always older when we told the story. If we were 14, we were 16, that
Got
kind of
it.
thing.
Got it.
And we were from a cooler part of town,
Right.
or we were from a more, or we were not from town. We were visiting from somewhere else. Like we
You
had
were
a cousin, something like that, and we were visiting from New Jersey or California or New York or
somewhere
something like that.
exotic.
Somewhere exotic, like really far away, like Chicago. So
Something to make you sound a little more interesting.
something to make you sound more interesting, because when you're 13 or 14,
Hmm.
you're not interesting. You know, you're as
Yeah.
interesting as you can be,
You think you're
but
interesting, but
you're dying to be more interesting. You're dying to be more grown up, to be more
right.
experienced, to meet more people, to meet people your parents don't know,
More sophisticated.
and to have secrets.
Right.
You know, young girls like having secrets. It makes them feel important. I know it made me feel important. I know I had a lot of friends that felt the same way, that they loved having a secret.
Right.
And I think with Laura, I think with Donna, I think Donna was able to handle that a little better. But with Laura, the secrets just got worse and worse. The secrets just got darker and darker and darker.
Yeah, there was like a never-ending supply of secrets. As you know, as the the show referenced so often, she's filled with
It's
secrets.
filled with secrets.
So yeah, all right. So moving on, let's move on to Laura at 13, where we find out, you know, first we find out that Ben Horn was the one who gave Troy to her. Actually, gave her to Leland to give to Laura.
Yes, and that thus begins the creepy relationship she has with Benjamin Thorne.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Benjamin Thorne. Well, the non-creepy part of this is Benjamin Thorne is a good example of how everybody in this town, even the most evil man in town,
Right.
loves Laura. Everyone loves Laura. She's sweet, she's beautiful, she's kind, she's considerate, and no one is immune from just adoring her. And I think that that's where this starts with
Well,
Benjamin Horne. He
well, yeah,
he himself is a terrible father to his own children.
Right.
His daughter being Audrey Horne, and his son Johnny, who is a bit slow, as they say in the
Mm-hmm.
diary. A
Right.
bit slow. He does have some mental issues, and Benjamin just kind of doesn't pretend that Johnny doesn't exist. You know, he just kind of pretends that that's not happening.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's, Ben is all about image. He's about appearance,
It's about
and
money.
it's about money. So obviously, it's a little awkward to have a son who wears an Indian headdress and, uh, yeah, kind of bangs his head on dollhouses and stuff.
Bangs his head on dollhouses, makes Indian battle cries out
Yes.
loud. He
Yeah.
says inappropriate things at funerals
Right.
and things like that. So,
Yeah.
and what
Nowadays he would probably be diagnosed with Tourette's or something, and
something, yeah.
something like that.
So we find out that Benjamin Horne is actually where Troy comes from.
Right.
And I remember reading this thinking, is Troy the Trojan horse for Laura?
Hmm.
Is he the start
That's good symbolism. I didn't think about that.
of the is he the start of the snowball of the
The
secrets,
downfall.
and how the secrets get out of hand? Because Troy starts out as this beautiful horse
Right.
who she absolutely loves and who she can tell her secrets to.
Oh,
But then she finds out that deep inside of Troy is a secret of it in itself.
I like
So
that. I like that symbolism.
thank you. I
Yeah,
just wondered,
no, that's it.
it,
I think that makes perfect sense. I hadn't really considered that. That's good. Yeah,
because
because
he's kind of where it starts. He's kind of where it starts, is finding that out, because that makes her feel uncomfortable with her father, and uncomfortable with Benjamin Horne, and
I would,
uncomfortable with Audrey Horne, and not understanding
yeah, I was just going to
why she
mention.
gets the attention that Audrey doesn't, and her feeling guilty, and her thinking everyone loves me, but I have these dark things. It just gets her brain going, I think.
Yeah, because like you said, she starts feeling that her father is less honest.
Right.
Which if you watch Twin Peaks season 2, you know he's got some secrets of his own.
He's got some problems.
Yeah, I won't go out and spoil that one because if you just watch season 1, but you should know this by now. But
Should know it by now.
you
Yes,
should know it by now.
this is I'm not going to come right out and say it.
Yeah, it is a pretty big revelation.
But if you don't know that Kathy Lee Crosby is who killed J.R. Ewing, you don't care.
Nice.
I do feel like Who Killed Laura Palmer is the 90s Who Shot J.R. It was what everyone was talking about.
Right. I totally agree. It was the one that captured the pop culture imagination of everybody.
And even if you didn't watch the show, you wanted to know who killed Laura Palmer.
Or who shot Mr. Burns.
Or who shot Mr. Burns, exactly. That would make a lot more sense.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you didn't care, but the next day at work, around the water cooler, the next day at school, like, oh hey, yeah, who did kill Laura Palmer? You still wanted to know.
Right, exactly. So yeah, so she starts to lose faith in her father. Hasn't quite made the connection about him yet, though.
Yeah.
And as you mentioned, Audrey feels a lot resentful toward Laura because Ben is more interested in Laura than he is his own daughter.
Yes, he is.
And he's really creepy about it. There was a part where she talks about how he puts her on his knee.
Sit on his lap and sing to her.
Yep.
Ooh.
Yep.
And that's foreshadowing, everyone.
Exactly.
And it's not good.
So basically, Ben has had this really creepy interest in Laura for a long time.
For a long time, yes.
Yeah. Let's see. So we sadly Laura loses her cat Jupiter, who is hit on the road.
Jupiter, who gets hit by a car.
Right.
Yes.
She starts getting into her first drug use. She's graduated from cigarettes to marijuana.
Oh my gosh.
Reefer madness.
She's going to go insane and play the piano while she's laughing maniacally.
Exactly. She's got the mad munchies, yo. She goes in and downs the 2 bags of Doritos, I guess.
And then falls asleep.
Falls asleep, yeah, exactly.
It's going to happen.
Exactly. We get the skinny dipping story in this.
We get the skinny dipping story, yes. So. And what's interesting about that is that the gist of the story is that Laura and Donna go down to the book house, which is sort of a
cool
coffee house / secret society.
Yeah.
We learn later in the show about the Bookhouse Boys that it's sort of this group of people who have all grown up together and try and keep things honest beyond
the town
the town beyond the police jurisdiction, because there's something in the town that is intangible and that people need to be protected from.
The evil in these woods. And so they go down to the book house and they meet some guys and they ride motorcycles and they're cool guys. They're older guys, obviously.
They're what are they, like 6 years older than them or something? Aren't they like 20?
Something like
that.
Something like that.
Yeah.
So they go to
and they all wind up at the lake and they're all in the lake.
Yeah, then
they're skinny dipping. They're making out.
Laura likes getting the attention of the boys.
She likes getting the attention, and she likes the new experiences. Touching their hard places and kissing her in her hard places.
Right.
And Donna's enjoying it too, but a little less. There's 3 guys, and Donna's off with one, and Laura's kind of switching back and forth between 2 of them.
Right.
And Donna's a little more thrilled and exhilarated and sort of blown away by what she's done.
Right.
Whereas Laura is thrilled and exhilarated, and it whets her appetite more than satiates her.
She's seduced by that darkness.
She is. Is she seduced by the dark side, Charles?
Just a little bit. Just a little bit. But so yeah, Donna, obviously, goody two shoes Donna, not as into it. She kind of freaks out over it.
She's into it, but she's not ready. She's not as ready as Laura is, and I think that's.
Yeah, Laura and Donna are playing 2 totally different games already.
2 totally different games. Yeah, Donna wants to be a grown-up, but isn't as ready as Laura is. Yeah. And I think that's the main difference between the 2 of them. Because Donna
kind of hides a little bit from her
side.
She hides a little bit from her sexuality, but Laura embraces it. I think.
She does embrace. And Donna comes from a very different family dynamic. Donna has 2 sisters, a very close family, and a very sweet father,
Right.
who, as time goes on, becomes one of the few people that Laura feels comforted by Dr. Hayward. He delivered her.
Right.
So in Laura's mind, he's always been there for her. He was the first person to cradle her and protect her from the world.
She refers to him as the finest man she's ever known.
The finest man she's ever known, and that he's more of a grandfatherly protector type.
Right.
And that she, sometimes wonders what it would be like for him to be her father, and she feels such a sweetness towards him, such a gratitude towards him. And she never particularly voices a resentment towards Donna for that.
No.
But I think underneath it all, because Donna has that, Donna feels probably a little more protected and a little bit more like the world can be a safe place, because her world has been a safe place. There's no Bob in Donna's life.
No. Donna obviously has a more optimistic outlook.
Yes.
Than Laura, understandably. And so,
understandably, yes, absolutely.
Yeah. We also get in this year, we have the first meeting between Laura and the Log Lady.
Yes, where they are connected by their dreams of the woods.
Yeah, they're like, the Log Lady has a dream of that she was supposed to meet Laura at this gas station, and Laura kind of has that a little bit of the same thing.
She has that feeling where she has to find that address, so she takes Troy and rides him to that address. And just to see what it is, just to figure out what it is. And she and the Log Lady are connected by the woods, and the Log Lady gives her some advice, basically that things are going to be okay.
Mm-hmm. Ultimately.
And Laura's response is, maybe she's thinking of another Laura Palmer.
Right.
Because even at that young age, Laura doesn't think everything's going to be okay.
No,
she's not convinced.
She's obviously getting more and more jaded as time goes on. Yes. At this point.
More and more jaded, and while that is always sad to see and to feel, I remember as growing up and becoming more jaded about things and thinking things were one way and then finding out they were completely different. And it's sad for Laura, because not only is she learning the inevitable lessons that children have to learn, that the world sucks sometimes and that there are bad things and that you can get jaded and you can get beaten down by the world, but Laura blames herself so much for it.
Right.
That if she were just a good girl, that maybe it's what she did in the lake that makes these bad things and these bad feelings. And if she didn't think about sex so much, or she didn't masturbate so much, or she didn't smoke,
there's a lot of guilt there.
There's a lot of guilt. There's a lot of self-loathing,
and a lot of guilt where she gets angry at herself for wanting good things, wanting to be good. Like if I'm good, I'm going to pay for it.
Right. If for all the things I'm thinking, that's everything I'm thinking is bad.
Right. I just want to be a good person.
I just want to be a good person. And that's what's so sad, is that Laura is a good person. To skip a few years, Laura comes up with the Meals on Wheels program for Twin Peaks. Laura, even in her darkest times, Laura is a compassionate, sweet person.
Trying to do the right thing.
To everyone else in the world but herself.
Yeah. All right, so let's move on to Laura at 14. And this is kind of a big year because Bob...
She meets a boy, too, doesn't she?
Oh, that's right, she does.
Yeah, she does.
Yeah, so she meets a boy by the name of Bobby Briggs.
She's talked about him before. He used to pull her pigtails when she was little.
Exactly.
Typical boy.
Yeah, typical boy. And there's a great bit where, I guess at Norma at the Double R, Bobby was there with her, and Norma kind of teases Laura about it. She says, when's the wedding?
Yes. When's the wedding date, you two? Yeah, and of course they're absolutely mortified, all young people are. When
and Laura's just we're not
my friend. She's a girl and she's a friend, but she's not my girlfriend.
Yeah, we're not together, okay? Yeah.
He's not my boyfriend.
Yeah.
I just like him, okay?
Yeah.
The defensiveness. Gosh, how easy is it to just reach back into the back of your brain and become 14 again? It's so simple.
and a little
It's
and a
so
little terrifying.
and a little bit terrifying. Let's stop doing that, like right now.
So,
But another Bob comes in as
yeah,
well, doesn't?
yeah, exactly. So this is obviously not the Bob, as we find out. Obviously in the show, there's a different Mike and a different Bob, and
Yes.
this is the different Bobby Briggs, and so she's like she starts dating him, um, like and then she kind of starts taking these feelings of self-loathing that she has for herself, and she kind of projects it onto Bobby.
Bobby Bobby does that thing that scares her quite a bit, where there's that moment where he calls her and tells her how much he loves her and how they'll be together forever, and that of course freaks her out, but she turns it around into, no, he's not. No one's going to be with me forever. I'm too bad of a person.
Right,
And he even calls to apologize for being so serious with her.
right.
And she's saying, he says all these wonderful things and then he's sorry. What am I doing to make him feel like he can't say these wonderful things to me, that I won't appreciate these wonderful things? And then she feels guilty. And then again, she starts projecting the bad feelings onto her relationship with Bobby.
Because her experiences with Bob have been kind of like grooming her to to see that dark side, to just that she can't have those feelings. Like she can't have those feelings of a good, healthy relationship with someone.
It's not as much as she can't, it's that she's not worthy.
Right. You're right.
She doesn't deserve them. She doesn't deserve them.
Right. So she doesn't really know how to come to terms with these feelings. And so she lashes out. Like there's a part where she takes his virginity and then she laughs at him.
She does, again,
And
because he
rather
gets
cruelly.
the Bobby we see in the show and the Bobby that first started dating Laura at 14 are very different guys.
Right.
The young Bobby is the closest we see to the young Bobby in the show is the Bobby who's crying, talking about everything that all the bad things Laura made him do.
Right.
And yeah, Bobby starts out as a lot sweeter than he turned out to be. And I don't don't know if it's just Laura that hardened him,
mm-hmm.
or if he hardened because of Laura or for Laura.
See, I get the impression that he hardened because of Laura.
I think so too. That
because he wasn't that jerkwad that we see right off the bat in season 1.
right.
We find out that like he was just the athletic type that just kind of like
Captain of
the football team, exactly. He's just trying to get attention and being kind of a glory hog or whatever, but he wasn't a jerk about it until Laura. And then
Right.
that whole like just cutting into his teenage insecurity by laughing at him after they have sex, that
Right.
it just crushed him, and just like the only way he could come to terms with it was this anger, this resentment, I think,
The anger and resentment,
that he
and
just unloads on everybody.
he just unloads on everybody. And then of course there's his super strict military father.
Right.
That doesn't help.
No, it doesn't.
But at the same time, again, Bobby loves Laura. Bobby's there and does all those things, all those terrible things that we eventually learn that he's done because of how much he loves Laura. Everybody who comes in contact with Laura loves her,
right.
regardless. And I think that's one of the most tragic things about her, is that she feels so undeserving of love, and it's what she wants the most. And I don't know if until James she sees that. And I'm getting ahead of myself, so I'll stop right now.
A little too late, unfortunately.
Very much too little too late with James.
Yeah.
James is who she needed this whole time.
And so while all this is going on, of course, Bob is continuously abusing her, psychologically and physically. He even gets to the point where he starts possessing her as she's writing in her diary, which the first time I read this diary back in the day freaked me the hell out.
Yes. Yes, we start, and the way this is written is that we'll hear Laura's voice, and then in all caps, we'll hear Bob's voice. And he's there making her write things, and she's trying to fight him, but he's still there.
Yeah, he was that a-hole on Facebook and Twitter in all caps, like ranting
in all caps,
decades before it happened.
Mental state.
Exactly.
He's mentally trolling her completely. Just jumping in and saying terrible shit for no reason.
He was the original all caps guy.
The original all caps guy, yes. I hate that guy.
Everybody hates that
guy. and she tries so hard to fight him. And as she gets older...
Don't be that guy.
Don't be that guy. As she gets older, she gets better at fighting him on his level, which is just so sad. Because that's just proving how low she keeps getting.
Right.
That at first she's afraid and she's being defiant, and then towards the end of it she's showing him more of this, yeah, whatever, Bob, come try it attitude.
Yeah, like I can, like I'm ready for you, or I can, like I'll take whatever you can dish out, or what. She tries to be defiant.
She tries to be defiant in a more sort of sarcastic and given up sort of a way.
Yeah. That
I know you're always going to be here. I know you're always you come at me, bro.
You can't do anything. Exactly. You can't do anything more than you already have to me.
You can't kill someone who's already dead. Mm-hmm. It's that kind of a feel to it. And I've always thought in, spoiler alert, sort of spoiler alert.
That's all right.
I've always thought that that's part of why Bob killed her.
Right.
Is because she was getting to his level. She was too close to his level. And he couldn't have that kind of a counterpart. He couldn't control that kind of a counterpart. He couldn't have that.
So did you think he saw her as a threat?
I do. I do. Or something too close to his equal. He couldn't control her anymore because in her way and on her level, she was equal to him.
See, I personally got a totally different vibe about that. My take on this, and your take is perfectly valid, don't get me wrong. My take on it is that he basically burned her up. That he got all the emotional anguish and suffering, the garbanzia, yeah, that he got all that pain and suffering out of her as much as he could get. He fed off her as much as he could, and he was ready to discard. She's discarded. He was ready to discard her. But to your point, he was upset after he killed her.
He was. Everybody loves Laura Palmer.
Even Bob. Even Bob.
Everybody loves Laura. You can't not love Laura.
It's not everybody loves Chris. It's everybody loves Laura Palmer.
It's everybody loves Laura Palmer. Absolutely. Absolutely. And I think you're right. I think that's what Bob traditionally does with people.
So was he just upset that he had to discard her, or felt he had to discard her?
I think he was upset that he had to discard her, and partially because she was such a worthy adversary. She was so much like him, and I think that's part of why I think we're both onto something. Yeah. That she was.
Maybe we'll find out something more. Hopefully.
You never know. We're both just pontificating. We didn't write this. Exactly. Neither one of us is right.
Exactly. This is all speculative, but I do like where you're coming from with this. I do.
I like where you're coming from with too, and it makes you wonder why he doesn't take more from, say, a Ronette Pulaski. And It's because she's just a weaker person. She's a weaker character. She's a weaker character.
She checked out. She went into that coma. Obviously, she's not as strong as Laura. I think you're absolutely right.
Absolutely. No one's as strong as Laura.
Yeah. But Laura, unfortunately, she shows a little bit of weakness because she starts. She went from cigarettes to marijuana, and now she's up to cocaine.
Now she's doing cocaine.
Now she's doing as her coping mechanism because she just wants to be numb at this point. And she gets she's starting to get into more darker sexual escapades because I'm sorry, go ahead.
What's the name of the guy who gives her cocaine for the first time? It's that friend of
Jacques.
That friend of Leo's. No, it's that friend of Leo's at Leo's party.
I can't remember.
Maybe it was Leo.
I thought maybe it was Leo, but
maybe I'm creating. Yeah, this is real good, Zan. You read this book 3 days ago. Um,
that's okay. I read it over the weekend. I can't remember myself.
but that's the thing. Leo.
Because
Leo
at this point,
okay.
yeah, because at this point, Bobby introduces her to Leo.
Right, because Leo is not that much older than Laura and Bobby. Leo, I think Leo is one of those. He was a senior when they were freshmen kind of guys.
Right.
So he met Leo, and
maybe he's 18.
Something like that. Yeah, he's
like
definitely
he's out of high school.
He's out of high school, but he still knows high school people, and
right.
And he's like that wild older guy whose parties you go to. That that when you're like 15, that's really cool, and then when you're like 25, you're like, oh my god, that guy's a loser.
Exactly.
The reason he hangs out with high school kids is because he's such a loser. No one his age will hang out with him.
Exactly.
But
don't be that guy either.
Don't be that guy. I think I'm mixing up. I think I'm adding in a character. I'm mixing up Leo and Jacques and turning them into the same guy.
Blurring them in.
But
yeah, because obviously Jacques gets introduced at this point. Jacques Renault. They start having these big sex parties and
these orgy parties.
Tons of orgy parties. Yeah, there's a whole sequence where there's this cabin in the woods, obviously, that plays heavily in the season. Jacques' cabin. So Laura gets taken there. First she's like blindfolded, and then they start having like orgies right outside the cabin. Like she feels she's so blindfolded, and people like are all over doing things to her. And then she wakes up the next morning or something, and then realizes what happened.
Realizes where she is, recognizes the chair, recognizes everything. And this is also hanging out with Leo and Jacques. It's also in Leo being a truck driver.
Right.
So he's all over the country with drugs, all over the country with other seedy enterprises. And it's where she finds her first copy of Flesh World.
Right.
Which
and that kind of takes us into Laura at 15.
Yes, it does.
Because Leo gets Bobby to start dealing drugs for him.
Yes, because he's got the high school connection and
exactly. And Laura's obviously into this because she just wants more cocaine.
She just wants the cocaine, exactly. I mean,
she's like Pam on Archer, wanting cocaine.
Exactly. Just right? Eating her past made out of cocaine. And Laura's already doing bad things for cocaine. She's going to Leo saying, "Hey, what you want for this cocaine?" And he's telling her, and she's doing it, and it's not cute, it's not pretty.
I hate to say this, Pam, but you look really good.
You want to bang me? Aw. My favorite Pam moment ever. You want to bang me? Well, duh.
Yeah. Sorry, a little Archer reference there, but
Archer interlude. Okay.
Yeah, exactly. I'm wearing the shirt for it, so that's appropriate.
Yes, you are.
All right.
The cool Archer shirt.
But so the there's a drug deal that ends up going south.
Very south.
Yeah.
Very south. Bobby kills a guy.
Yeah, Bobby kills a guy, and as I put in my little notes, like Bobby shoots a guy. Yeah, we got that story in the show.
We got that story in the first episode. James says that
and it wasn't
Bobby killed someone.
It's also in Fire Walk with Me, isn't it?
You see it happen. You see the deal go bad, and you see him shoot the guy.
Right. But you got to hear first in the diary before the movie came.
You got to hear first in the diary.
So So obviously it's canon, and it goes sideways. And Laura, as we saw in the movie, just thought this was hysterical because she's like high at the time it was going on.
Laura just laughs through the whole thing, and Bobby is
understandably freaked out.
He is very freaked out. He is very upset. He's seeing his entire life flash before his eyes.
Mm-hmm.
And Laura's just laughing, and he has no idea what to do with her. He does not know what he's gotten into with this. He's very, very scared, very upset.
Yeah. We also get more of Laura trying to do the right thing, though. She starts tutoring Johnny Horn, and she actually likes Johnny.
Johnny's a wonderful character, and Johnny loves her.
Right.
Everyone does.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I think it makes her feel like she is a good person, and makes her feel a little bit better, and it makes her feel
Normal.
a little more normal. Yeah, a little more like this is what the nice girl that everybody thinks I am would do.
Right.
She would help this boy.
And she actually doesn't feel guilty about Johnny liking her.
Not at all, because she's not going to. We know she's not going to take advantage of him in any way,
as opposed to Bobby.
And Johnny loves her in that sort of childish way that he if you probably asked him, he would say, I want to marry Laura Palmer, but he of course has no idea what that means.
Right.
He doesn't want her sexually. He doesn't want her for anything. He just loves her because she is who she is.
And she's nice to him.
And she loves him for that.
Right.
It's one of the more pure relationships that she has is with Johnny.
And we also get now we kind of forgot to mention this when Laura at 14, but Laura sets Troy loose.
She does, and she hopes for the best.
But here in year 15, we find out that Troy ends up found with his leg broken, malnourished, and like the local cops had to shoot him dead because to ease his suffering.
Poor Troy.
Take him out of his
so
suffering.
sad.
But Ben, I guess, calls Laura's mom about it, and then Laura starts wondering, well, what was I thinking when I did this? She just doesn't seem to understand the ramifications of what she did.
She doesn't know who she is, and therefore she doesn't know what she's doing or why she's doing it, because she doesn't know.
Right.
She doesn't understand herself. She doesn't recognize herself. She doesn't recognize her own motivation.
She thought she was doing the right thing by setting him free, but didn't consider the long-term, ramifications that he could go out there and just end up worse off, as opposed to being in the stables where he was safe and cared for.
And that's what's happening to Laura.
Yeah.
She's breaking free from her parents and from childhood, and it's just getting worse.
So yeah, more symbolism, I think.
I think so too.
Yep. Now that you mentioned Troy as the symbol like that, I think I'm totally getting it now. I totally agree with you on that.
I think I always put more stock into Troy than maybe I should have, because when I read about Troy, when I read this diary for the first time, all of those scenes where you just see horses in Twin Peaks,
right?
It all of a sudden just made sense to me.
Well, here's what I'm wondering while you're on that. The one scene in season 2 when Maddie dies.
Oh, yes.
And the horse appears in the living room.
Yes.
So my question is that Troy?
I've always wondered that myself. Like I said, as soon as I read the diary and learned about Troy, I'm like, is that who this horse is that we keep seeing everywhere?
Because we don't really get an explanation for the horse at all.
We don't really get an explanation for the horse.
Apart from that, it's just a weird image, and we figure, David Lynch just wanted something weird here.
Right. And I think, like I said, I think I've always taken that and run with it, that Troy is symbolic of a lot of different things.
But I think it would be really interesting if that was actually Troy, his spirit.
I think so too.
Yeah.
I think so too, because he was very much
connected
to Laura and was introduced to her at this very pivotal point in her life.
Right. And again, it's more symbolism.
Yes. And again, something, like we were just talking about with Bob, is that Laura was now empty and had to be put down.
Ooh,
she had to go.
Yes.
So there are some parallels that between their lives. She sets herself free. And, even Laura talks about in her diary, she talks about how if she gets this other job after school, she can tell her mom that she ate something because she can't stand eating. She's just falling apart.
Yeah. I mean, she's the big, long downward spiral.
Yeah, she's broken and empty at the end of it when Bob decides she's got to go. Just like Troy, he's broken and empty.
Right. So, yeah. So, all right, is everybody cheered up yet? because we still have 2 more years to go here.
If you're still happy, we'll
Yep,
take care of that.
exactly. Yeah, so yeah, any upbeat feelings you might have, any sense of well-being and cheerfulness,
Forget it.
get ready to kiss that goodbye.
Get ready to kick him to
Cause
the curb.
yep, because now we're moving on to Laura at 16. We kind of end year 15 where her where she meets up or gets introduced to Amory Battis at Horn's department store.
Emery Battis, who works for Horn's department store and decides which girls do and do not work the perfume counter.
Right.
And as we come to find out, the perfume counter is the first step to One-Eyed Jack's, the brothel. The brothel just over the border, run by Blackie, where Jacques Renault works.
Owned by Benjamin Horn.
Owned by Benjamin Horn, but nobody knows that. It's not common knowledge. So again, we know it, but not necessarily the whole town knows it.
No.
So yes, if your daughter ever comes home and says, "Hey, I got a job at the perfume counter at Horn's department store," move.
Run for the hills.
Run for the hills. Shave her head, something, because it's going to be bad. They're basically grooming. The perfume counter is grooming to be a whore.
Yep, exactly. Start making skid marks like the DeLorean in Back to the Future.
Seriously, like
with fire in them.
Like the Roadrunner when there's birdseed. Yeah. Seriously. So yes, she gets her after school job at the perfume counter at Horn's department store.
And so from there, obviously, she ends up working at One-Eyed Jack's. Starts working as a prostitute, or escort, as you might.
Yes. For gentlemen looking for an evening of gambling and a good time.
Exactly. Downside, of course, is she ends up 7.5 weeks pregnant.
She does end up 7.5 weeks pregnant with no idea
who the father
is. No clue.
It could be the entire town for all she knows.
It could be the entire town. And as we find out, what page is that on? Here it is. The list of people that she has had sex with.
Oh, yeah, the initials. List of initials.
Yes, on page 132 and 133.
Everybody consult your books.
Everyone consult your books, page 132.
And this is in the hardcover, or the paperback, rather, so it might be a little different. It might be different in your ebook, depending on your font sizing.
It's February 1st, 1988,
there
for
you
those
go.
of you keeping track at home.
There you go.
We have a really long list of people, and after J.H., who I'm not 100% sure who that is,
right,
and several unknowns out by the cabin.
Yeah, because it's a little too early for James Hurley.
A little too, but there's two JHs in here.
Yeah. Well, I know that some of them are actually, like if you go toward, like the last four, like the ones on page 133, DD is Dwayne Dunham.
Yes.
One of the writers or one of the directors. I think it was one of the directors.
Director, I believe.
Yeah.
Yes.
And then Harley Payton is HP. He's one of the writers.
Oh, yeah? Okay.
Yeah, yep. And then BE is Bob Engels.
Producer.
Right.
Yeah, producer.
So, and MF on page 132 is Mark Frost. DL's David Lynch, of course.
Mm-hmm.
And apparently JCL is Jennifer Lynch.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah.
It's a little creepy way to put yourself in the book, though, Jennifer, but I appreciate it.
Yeah, well, she's after RP, who had to be Ronette Pulaski, right?
Who had to be Ronette Pulaski, exactly. You know who I'm not seeing in here now that I'm looking at this?
Who?
There's no BH.
Oh, yeah. There's also no JP. Josie.
Yeah. Yeah.
As we'll get into that too, but
we're just a little bit early.
Yeah, I think we are. So,
yes. But yes, because of her working at One-Eyed Jack's, her creepy relationship with Benjamin Horn just gets that much creepier.
Yeah. So she's preggers. She ends up getting an abortion, and later ends up meeting Harold Smith.
Harold.
Yes.
Oh, I love Harold.
You loved Harold. See, a lot of
I
people,
loved Harold.
a lot of us didn't like Harold. They thought he was kind of, a weenie, but and
Well,
with some serious issues with gardening rakes.
some serious issues with some gardening rakes, yes. The thing about Harold is he was so sweet.
Hmm.
He was so sweet. And maybe there are other people out there who have had the same experience that I have, but there are some very, very sweet guys who wind up being batshit crazy, just like Harold is.
Right.
But who, at the moment, are exactly what you need.
Well, to be fair, he was an agoraphobe.
He was an agoraphobe. Yes, he would not leave the house,
So
which is how Laura met him.
That kind of gave some inclination of mental instability, shall we say?
Of definitely of some mental issues. That's for sure.
Yes.
And this is again, Laura. Underneath it all, Laura's a good person. Laura meets Harold through the Meals on Wheels program. Usually, the Meals on Wheels are older people who can't get around very well, but then there's Harold who just never leaves the house.
Right.
And so that's how she meets him, and he's so sweet and he's so protective of her. And he's exactly the type of protection that Laura needs. Unfortunately, she doesn't need the codependence that Harold is offering as well.
Right.
So that's a problem. But at the same time, she does need that kindness.
She's looking for someone to confide in, I think.
She's looking for someone to confide in. She's looking for someone who isn't going to think she's a bad person because of what she's done. And, okay, yeah.
He's not judgmental.
He's not. I mean, and, let's be honest. Laughing when someone gets shot to death is a problem. Mm-hmm. But unfortunately, I don't think Laura ever gets to learn the lesson that having sex doesn't make you a bad person. That's not... It's truly tragic that Laura has to feel that it does. But he doesn't feel like she's a terrible person. He feels like she's lost, and the same way he is. He's lost and is having a hard time finding his way back, and she's having a hard time finding her way back too.
Right. But
unfortunately, as we find out with Laura tends to bite the hand that feeds her.
Yes. And
so I think that Harold winds up having a love for Laura that is similar to the love that Johnny has, just that love of a protector, of a beautiful person who's a protector and sweet, but he's also a grown man with sexual feelings, so he has sexual feelings for her as well.
Right.
But she takes a lot from Harold, I think.
Yeah. I think Harold would like something more with her.
Yes.
But I don't think Laura is interested at all that way.
She's not interested, nor is she equipped for it. And it's probably would be the worst thing for both of them.
Yeah.
It would not be what Harold wants, but it would probably be better for Laura than it would be for Harold to have more of a safe, stability, loving relationship. But she's trying so hard to break away from everything that I think Harold's codependence would not be good for her, would not be what she needed.
Totally agree. We get Laura also starting to tutor Josie in English.
Yes, Josie Packard, the beauty vixen, mysterious woman from Hong Kong who is now the widow that runs the Packard sawmill. Yeah,
she. I think what happens is that I guess she's also seems a lot of these projects of Laura's end up like taking place at the Double R, and for some reason,
right.
And so like Josie's there talking to Norma or something about it, and Laura kind of pipes in, "Oh, hey, I could help you with your English."
And I think Laura is I think her intentions are altruistic when she says that.
Yeah.
And then, of course, she goes to tutor Josie Packard, who is full of evil secrets.
Exactly. And we find
has lived a terribly violent and secretive and...
So again, Laura kind of gets, it's another case of no good deed goes unpunished.
No good deed goes unpunished, exactly. She does Meals on Wheels, she meets Harold, she tries to tutor Josie, but it's Josie. And Josie is another completely tragic character that she's really trying to run away from herself.
Right.
And
apparently Josie puts the moves on Laura.
Josie does. Josie's been around. Josie's had some.
And then Laura doesn't respond well to it because she ends up like resenting Josie for it.
She does.
Doesn't respect her at all.
No, she doesn't. And Laura is
Gets a little angry about it.
She's very angry about it. It's I think we finally found something that Laura's not ready for either.
Right. So again, it's somebody kind of someone perverting her desire to be good and turning into something dark and unhealthy.
She keeps trying to get up, but they keep pulling her back in.
Exactly. I was just thinking Godfather. You're right.
It's very much that. She's very much everything she tries to do that is a good deed somehow. It's is anybody in this town what they seem.
Right. So now go ahead.
Nobody is. Yep. Maybe Donna. But
Yeah. But by this point, Laura and Donna are so estranged from each other after being so close as kids.
Right. They don't. She even says, Donna and I don't have anything to say to each other anymore. We chat, but that's it.
Yeah.
And she still loves Donna and wants to protect her, but at the same time, it's difficult for her.
Yeah,
to be around that kind of naivete that Donna has.
Yeah, she just doesn't have any stomach for it anymore at this point.
No.
And they've fallen out. So really, she's still looking for somebody to confide in. She ends up, and I'm not quite sure how, she gets introduced to Dr. Lawrence Jacoby at this point. She ends up getting a tape recorder from him. He asked her to send him tapes. And then somehow, this is their therapy session. That's
their therapy that she can still keep secret from everyone. She doesn't want her parents knowing or anyone knowing that she's seeing Dr. Jacoby.
Right.
Who is not the most stable person himself.
No, because he ends up falling for her too.
Everybody loves Laura Palmer.
Everybody loves Laura Palmer, exactly.
Everybody loves Laura Palmer. And she hooks you. If you know her, you love her.
Yep. And Bob, go ahead.
And Dr. Jacoby is, first of all, he's unstable to begin with.
Right.
He's been, as we learned more about Dr. Jacoby in the Secret History of Twin Peaks, that he's been widely discredited.
Right.
And it's sort of a laughingstock in his field of psychiatry. So maybe he's not the best person for Laura, but he's somebody. He is, again, somebody that is not going to use her.
Right.
She can use him, but he's not going to use her.
Yeah.
Very much like Harold.
He's been looking a little too long in the red end of the spectrum.
Oh, my goodness gracious. Dr. Jacoby. By the way, I would like to mention this. This was one of the things that I found so cool about Twin Peaks when it first aired. Dr. Jacoby in the show is played by Russ Tamblyn.
Right.
And Benjamin Horne is played by Richard Baymer. Both of whom
West Side Story.
West Side Story.
Yep.
Yes. I remember thinking, wait a second. When I saw it, I thought that was wonderful. Okay, sorry.
Yeah, that is awesome.
Full nerd interlude over.
Yep. So if you're big into musicals, you definitely would get a kick out of that because.
Yes, absolutely.
You can go back to West Side Story and go, oh my God, they're right. It is them.
They're right there.
They're right there, exactly. So, meanwhile, through all of this stuff that's going on in Laura, she's still trying to keep up this St. Laura facade for the entire town.
And it's partially because everyone expects it of her.
Right.
But partially because Laura so badly wants to be that person. She wants to be that person, and she just doesn't, and she feels bad that she doesn't want that, so then she feels like a worse person, so then she spirals down further. It's this Laura's tragic.
It's this whole big self-destructive cycle she's in.
It is.
And meanwhile, you've got Bob telling her how worthless she is, how horrible a human being she is.
She's starting to believe him.
And the only reality that matters is me. I'm the only reality there is.
He's the ultimate abusive boyfriend.
Totally.
He is the pinnacle of the abuser.
Pretty much.
In every way.
Right. If you want to get an idea of a totally unhealthy relationship, and if you're not sure about your own relationship and you see some patterns of abuse, and you read this, you're like, yeah, maybe this is
get out
of the relationship. Do something healthy with you.
You can come to my house if you have to. Just get out. Just
Yeah,
get out. Right.
exactly. So here we are. We moved on to Laura's final year. Laura at 17.
At 17.
Yeah. So Laura ends up having a little showdown at One-Eyed Jack's.
She does.
She ends up um, confronting Blackie, who's starting to.
Blackie is the madam
Yeah,
of One-Eyed
Blackie's
Jacks.
right, and like she wants her money, and Blackie's giving her all kinds of attitude about it. Um, so Blackie's intent on teaching Laura a lesson, and then Laura flips it around on her and gives her like the most intense sexual experience she's ever had,
She does.
and just completely dominates her at this point.
Yes, she does. And that's what Laura's got. That's all Laura has left these days.
So basically, like, yeah, once I was but a learner, now I am the master.
I am the master. Only a master of evil.
Exactly.
It's
And
yeah. Laura has one thing she feels like she can use, and she uses it when she needs to.
yep,
And she hates herself for it. Every second of it, she hates herself for it. She hates herself for doing it, and she hates herself for enjoying it.
yep. So she ends up becoming homecoming queen.
She does. Which
Um,
is the infamous photo of her. That is the homecoming photo. So the homecoming queen,
yep,
who is girlfriend of the captain of the football team, perfect
right.
small town storybook everything with its horrible, horrible, dirty underbelly.
Hey, we had to have something to play the Twin Peaks end credits over.
We had to have something to play the end credits over. Exactly. I actually have a friend, my friend Barbara, for a while had Laura Palmer's photo in her apartment.
Yep.
Just like with all the other family pictures, just Laura Palmer's
There's
photo.
actually a Laura Palmer T-shirt, the homecoming queen photo. You can go on Showtime's official store, and you can get it there. I was really tempted to get it.
That's very, very tempting.
So
And I
you,
have to say, I'm tempted to totally be a poser and copy her idea and just put Laura Palmer's photo up somewhere in my house. But my friend
like,
Barbara's
have
blind.
people come over? Who is that?
Who was that? Oh, she was just, homecoming queen of the school I knew
Yeah.
about once. But
Then she died.
um,
Died in a tragic
she died
accident.
young. Yeah, it was kind of sad. But my friend Barbara's blonde, so people would come into her apartment and be like, "Is that you? Were you homecoming queen? Were you prom queen?" And it just
Yeah.
was, and we would always joke because these were much, much younger people.
Right.
So of course, why would they know who
Exactly.
this is?
So they were
But
just totally suckered into it.
suckered it. I was, yeah. I'm so tempted to copy her idea on that
That's
one. I love that one.
that's funny.
Because like everybody, I love Laura Palmer.
Who doesn't love Laura Palmer?
No one does not love Laura Palmer.
Yeah.
Everyone loves Laura.
Well, apparently Laura Palmer does not love Laura Palmer.
She's the only one.
Right.
How sad is that?
Yep, pretty much.
Out of everyone who knows her, even Bob loves her in his own Bob evil way.
Yeah.
Bob's just as addicted to her as anything.
Totally effed up way. Yeah.
In his totally screwed up, evil Bob kind of a way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Laura really starts hitting the downward slide at this point, obviously, more so than she has been. She ends up forcing Harold to have sex. So she essentially rapes him.
She does, yes. Because Harold's not equipped for a lot of things outside of his own mind.
Right.
And that's part of why he's in the house all the time. And
this does not help, I'm sure.
Like I said, she takes a lot from Harold. She takes way too much from him.
Yeah. So,
but she also meets somebody else.
Yeah. And
she meets this James.
Yeah. And even though she ends up involved with James, getting involved with James at this point. We don't quite know how they met, do we?
They went to high school together.
Yeah, but I mean, just like I don't know if like Laura went after him, he went after her. We don't know.
We don't. She doesn't really talk too much about it.
Maybe at football games, who knows?
Maybe the book house. You're right. He's a book house boy, but I think Laura sees in James the type of love, and she says this in her diary that she dreams of the boy that will love her in a certain way.
Right.
And James is that boy, and she so wants to be the girl that can be loved by James. And because she knows she's not, she's going to take what she can and protect him as much as possible.
Right.
I think she's very protective of James. Part of why no one knows about them except for Donna. And her being with James gets her closer to Donna again, and the three of them wind up being this little secret group. Again, young people like to have their secrets.
Right.
And I think part of why she keeps him from everything is to protect him.
Yeah, it's almost like James is her last chance at salvation.
Her last hope. Yeah. Absolutely. Absolutely is. He's her last. And James will do just about anything to help her. Unlike Bobby, who will do anything for her.
Right.
James will do anything to help her. James would never sell cocaine because Laura wanted him to. He would try to help her with that issue.
Right.
So
she actually tries to stay sober at this point.
She does.
For him.
She does. James is much more solid of a person. And James has had a harder life than she has, and she knows that. James with the mom who's supposedly a writer, but who shacks up in hotels with guys for weeks at a time and then comes back home when the money's gone and
that's things like that. That's a great point.
James has been able to become more of a solid person than Laura's been able to be.
Yeah. He's had bad experiences, but he hasn't let it consume him like it has Laura.
No, absolutely not. Yeah. He hasn't had this. I don't think he's had the level of bad experiences that Laura's had.
I don't think anybody has had the level of bad experiences.
Nobody's ever had that. Yeah, exactly. So he, but yeah, he'll do anything he can to help her rather than anything for her.
Right.
He has more of her interest at heart than I think anybody has in a long time.
Yep. Now, so she's trying to take these positive steps. But of course, being Laura, it all goes sideways.
That's not going to work.
No. Nope.
Laura.
Record scratch. Yep.
But Laura.
Yeah. So what happens to Laura? Of course, she ends up discovering, or at least her one of her final entries in the diary is that she finally discovered who and what Bob truly is.
This is interesting because. Does she discover what Bob is or who he is or who he's been?
Well, we know from Fire Walk With Me that she discovers who he is.
Right.
Because it's pretty spelled out in that.
It's very much spelled out.
And obviously that is enough of a horrific trauma.
That's just awful.
It's like the worst person it could be.
All right, now that I'm thinking about this, Charles, why do we do this to ourselves? Why have we been doing this to ourselves for 25 years?
Yeah.
This horrible, horrible, tragic thing that we totally adore and are completely obsessed with. Why have we done this to ourselves?
Just like Laura, we're in a cycle of abuse, apparently.
I guess so. Yeah. We're not good enough people to like a nicer show.
Yeah.
But that's the thing. I wonder, how does Laura find out what Bob is? Because I don't think she knows what he is while she's alive. I think she finds out when she's dead.
She might have suspected.
Maybe.
But yeah, we don't know exactly how she knows what he is.
That's right, and that's that's why I'm wondering. Does she? And that's the thing, is that no one knows what he is.
Right.
So, if Laura does know what he is, if Laura knows what Bob is, Laura's got to go.
Yeah.
That's not gonna fly.
And as we mentioned, there's pages of her diary torn out.
Which we'll never find.
Yeah, exactly. So there's a lot. She knows someone's reading her diary. She's she presumes it's Bob, and warns him. Hey, I know you're doing this. I know what you're doing. You're not going to have me.
Yes.
But I think she kind of almost at this point, after finding out who Bob is, she's probably like, okay, that's it. I'm checked out. I'm done. And surrendering at this point.
You have to be done when you find that kind of stuff out.
Yeah.
That killed all of us, let alone Laura.
Yeah, exactly. So she ends up giving the diary to Harold for safekeeping, as we know.
And she's dead 2 days later.
So isn't that a cheery story?
That's such an uplifting book that we read, isn't it? And I even thought
it's gonna make a hell of a children's book.
It's gonna make a hell of a children's story. when I was rereading this diary, I was like, oh God, I'm going to do this again, aren't I?
Yep.
I'm going to go here and
But
read this.
this is
All this
cathartic. This is
horrible
good.
stuff.
We're getting these feelings out. This is good.
Oh,
It
it's so sad
you want
because
to, yeah, and you want to take a shower after this story and
oh,
clean,
you want to
just
just
like
take
get
sticks.
yeah.
Oh,
Got
you
to.
just got to get the book off
I
of you,
need to
and
be
it's
clean. I need to be
oh,
clean.
and it's so funny too because there are so many things that I've thought about in this book, and I think about this. This is something I think about a lot
Right.
when I revisit stories of younger people
Hmm.
from back in the day, for lack of a better term.
Right.
These days, children are so supervised and so watched, and everyone is so
Helicopter parents.
helicopter with them.
Yeah.
To think of something like this where Laura can just tell the guy at the stable, "Yeah, I'm taking my horse like out somewhere." He's like, "Yeah, all right, whatever."
Well, that's the way it was
Or
for
that
way it was for us growing up. Because I used to
exactly
say, "Hey, mom, I'm just gonna go ride my bike for an hour or two." Okay,
hours
see ya. Yeah,
when
see.
it was dusk, you came home.
Yeah.
And then like maybe your mom would call around to
Right.
like three houses. Hey, is Charles over there? Well, tell him
Yeah.
it's time to come home
Yeah.
or something. And your parents pretty much had a good idea of who the neighborhood kids were that you were hanging out with.
Right.
So they knew how to find you. Or, your dad would come driving up to the park. Hey, we got to come home. Your
But
mom
I
made
could have
dinner.
been in a ditch somewhere dead. Who
We have no
knows?
idea. Yeah,
Yep.
just I went off on my bike. See ya.
Yep. It's
And that whole idea that you can be 14 and be able to sneak out on your butt. Well, having a mother who is high on Valium doesn't hurt.
yeah. I was just saying
And
with Laura's mom and being
yeah,
self-medicating her own because one of the things we forgot about that Laura walked in on her parents having sex once.
yeah, we can not talk about that.
Yeah,
That's
that's
just
okay.
as disturbing for us than it is for Laura.
Yeah,
But
yeah, yeah. But basically it happened, and so yeah,
it did happen,
and
and
uh,
it's a very. But what's good about that story? What's interesting about that story is it just shows you how Sarah Palmer, her mother,
yeah,
her capacity to put things out of her mind.
she checked out.
She's checked out and married to who she's married to. She's probably had to be.
Right.
And she said she walked in on her parents. She went back to her room, and then her mother came in with 7-Up and aspirin, and they never spoke of it. Nothing. But it's her mother's capacity and her history of wool over her eyes.
Yeah.
Is tremendous.
We have to wonder how much Sarah knew about what was going on.
Considering how crazy Sarah went,
Yeah.
I think quite a bit. I think losing Laura made it all bubble up. And there's some things in.
So you think she just repressed
I think
those
she did.
what happened, and then it just the guilt or whatever sprung forward?
I think the guilt sprung forward, and I think now she failed to protect Laura,
Right.
and now she's all alone. Leland's there, but is Leland really there?
As we find out, maybe not so much.
Maybe not so much. So I think that this whole time, she's been trying to keep up that veneer of everything's fine, and I can make things all better by cooking your favorite potato pancakes and bringing you 7-Up and aspirin and all these things, and just doing everything that she knows how to do as a mother,
Right.
even though that she knows she can't protect her daughter. And as we find out, she spends most of her nights conked out thanks to Valium.
Yeah.
So.
And her daughter is off like doing lines of coke and orgies and what have you.
Right. And she chooses. I don't even think she knows to pull the wool over her eyes about that stuff. I think she chooses not to even find out what's up with Laura because she knows she can't protect her. So, she might as well hide from it. So
now,
it helps to have parents high on Valium and maybe not necessarily around it. And her father does work for Benjamin Horne. He has all kinds of business dinners he has to go to.
Right.
He's not necessarily a stranger to One-Eyed Jacks either.
Nope.
So
he's got a great cover. So yeah.
Exactly. It helps if your parents aren't around.
Yeah.
But it's fascinating to me what kind of things kids used to be able to get into at 14.
Yeah.
It's very different, and it's probably because of that why helicopter parents exist now.
Probably because now that they're the generation that grew up not being supervised grew up and is like I need to
Oh,
supervise my
hell no.
kids. Yeah, exactly.
It's not going to happen here. No, no.
I know what I did when I was your age, and I'm not going to let you do that ever. Yeah.
Exactly. Exactly. And we have the capacity for it now. We have the capacity to have cell phones and security cameras in your house,
Right.
and parents who can work at home and things like that. So,
Yeah.
but
But now you brought it. You asked what, like, why did we put ourselves through this story again? And I'm just going to, just suggest that we did it because it's such a great story. I mean,
well, there's that.
it's. I mean, it's not like great in the sense of like, hey, this is a fun, cheery story. It's just it's interesting. It's an
And it
interesting
sucks you
story,
in.
and it
It
does,
sucks you in,
and it
the
feels
character
real.
feels real. The characters suck you in, and I'll say it again. I love Laura Palmer.
Yep.
I love her. I worried about her. I cried with her. My heart broke for her.
Right.
I absolutely love her. And if I didn't love Laura, I wouldn't care about any of this.
No.
But it's because I love Laura.
And that's what made
Just like her.
such a great mystery because you peeled back all those layers of onion, and there's just this really dark, nasty story that's just so compelling.
Yes, it's very compelling, and the whole time you're just thinking, what what must it be like to be Laura, to be so unhappy and so unsatisfied with what so many of us would think would be this perfect life.
Right.
Everybody loves her. She's smart. She's got great friends. She's beautiful. There's a
What?
million different things that she could have done on her own terms to excite herself or satiate any hunger she might have had, but she finds these horrible, dark ways of doing it, and it's just so tragic. It's just so sad.
Right.
She's tragic. She's very, very tragic.
Yep. She is a very tragic character. So on that cheery note,
On that cheery note,
see now we're down again. Yeah.
I hope you all enjoyed our book report and go out and read this book because it's great.
Yeah.
And it actually is great. It's very well written. It's very well done. And like I said at the beginning,
for a TV show tie-in, this is an amazing piece.
this is an excellent book. And it does a really good job of being dark and horrible, but also being a teenage girl. It's a good voice of a teenage girl and being dark and horrible. And it gets right to it. Like I said, the very first entry. I hope Bob doesn't come tonight. Oh, okay, we're in it now.
Yep.
We're just here.
Yep, you're off and running.
So
off to the races.
Yes.
So so if you need a manual about what not to do with your life, it's The Secret Diary of Laura Palmer.
Secret Diary of Laura Palmer.
Pick it up and tell your kids, don't do what's in this book.
Read this book and don't do anything.
Don't do any of it.
Maybe you can eat corn. You can eat cream corn on potato pancakes, but that's about as far as you get to go. And as much as we're talking about,
and you caught that cream corn, the garbanzia.
Garmonbozia.
Yeah.
Garmonbozia. I was in Michigan for a concert one time with some friends of mine, and we were in this little town where there was just a little artsy community where there's a big parking lot for everything. And one of the clubs was called Electricity.
Oh,
and
you went electricity.
Like 50 times. Like 50 times. We couldn't resist. It was great.
Nice.
But as much as we talk about how tragic Laura is and how sad this book really is good. If you're really hungry for more information about Laura, if you're hungry for more Twin Peaks stories, this book really does a good job with it.
Yeah, and if you enjoyed Twin Peaks Season 1, check out the book. It's definitely worth your time.
It's definitely worth your time. And for us, back in 1990, 1991, it was something to do while we were waiting.
Yep.
We had this hiatus that we had to wait through.
Yep.
And then we had second season, and then we got canceled, and then we had another hiatus that we had to wait through. Right. So then if we hadn't read, okay, fine, I'll read the damn diary, and then
it's totally worth
it. And the diary does sort of make you fall in love with Laura even more than you already are.
Yeah, and it definitely enhances the story so that by the time you watch season 2, you're like, oh yeah, ooh yeah, that.
And then as every time you see Jacques Renault, you're like, I hate that guy.
Yeah.
The whole Renault family is just
weasels.
Awful people.
Yeah.
They're just awful. They're just human garbage.
There isn't a good one in the bunch, is there?
There's not a good one in the bunch. Nope.
All right. So do you have a rating for this? I threw out the
for this book.
yeah. Like on
I
like on a
do.
10 scale, what's your rating?
My reading is 9, losing 1 point for breaking my heart.
Yeah, I'm totally with you. We're totally in sync on this one. I gave it 9 missing pages because
That is one thing I've always wanted to know. Where are those missing pages?
yeah,
Who has them? Where'd they go? Are
maybe they're in the Black Lodge.
Oh, then I'll never find them.
Yep.
You'll never find anything there.
Nope.
Oh my goodness.
Nope.
Yeah, spoiler alert, we never find the pages. We never know what's written on them. We don't know.
Yeah.
Unless Showtime's going to tell us.
Yeah, that's true. We don't. Who knows?
I was kind of hoping they would show up in the dossier.
Yeah, that would have been a perfect place to reveal them.
Oh man, I would have lost my mind.
That Major Briggs had them all these years.
Because I mean, that would have made sense if they were in his house. I mean,
or like they would left in the woods and in Ghostwood,
something.
And then he just came across them or something, or
something, or they were in the safe deposit, but something.
Yes.
Something.
Yes.
I was hoping they would be there, but they weren't. But yeah, the missing diary pages, they're still missing. We still don't know what they are.
Unless there's still more Dolores mystery, I think we'll find out in the Showtime series.
She's filled with secrets.
She's filled with secrets. Yes. All right. So what are we going to talk about next time on Ghostwood? Well, we talked about Laura Palmer's story. So what better thing to cover next than Twin Peaks Fire Walk with Me?
Oh dear God!
because we're not already depressed enough.
We're not sad enough.
Yeah.
Because this isn't depressing enough.
Well, to be fair, we're gonna take a month off before we cover this, so we have we have a little time to recover.
We have some time to recover, absolutely. So if you haven't seen Fire Walk with Me, hold on to your hat.
Yeah. Hopefully you watch season 2 before watching Fire Walk with Me.
Yes, Fire Walk with Me is definitely one of those prequels that you're better off returning to than starting with.
This is another advanced level Twin Peaks subject material. So
definitely, the TV show is a prerequisite for taking.
All you noobs, time to step your game up. Step
it up. Binge watch some Twin Peaks.
Yep, it's on Netflix. You have no excuse.
Is it on Netflix? That's good to know.
It's on Netflix, yeah, because I was getting a little refresher while I actually had like Twin Peaks, the giant like the May the Giant Be With You, the season 2 premiere.
Oh yes, okay.
On while I was like reading through the diary to write notes for the podcast.
Wow, just complete immersion, huh?
I was just trying to get into the feel of it. And it was it was great because like I know all this dialogue by heart, so it just got me in the mood, and it was great for the diary. So I enjoyed that a lot. So yeah, no excuses. And if you haven't read the diary, I got it for like $1.99 on iTunes. I don't know if it's still $1.99, but check it out on iTunes. It's a cheap buy, at least it was, and definitely worth your time.
It's available. It's out there. It's worth it. And I know we've talked before about how the Secret History of Twin Peaks would not translate well to an iBook.
Right. But
the diary does. The diary does very well.
Yeah, it does. I totally agree. And it even has the missing pages that you can flip through.
Just tells you that they're there. It doesn't give you any context.
No, but it says this page, rip it out, and you're like, oh, Bob, why did you do that?
Oh, horrible.
Bob shakes fist. So next time we're actually going to cover something on the television.
Something we watch.
Yes.
We are going, again, once our show, once we do our podcast about it, there's kind of no holds barred with it. So if you haven't seen it yet, I definitely recommend watching it before we talk about it, because we're going to talk about everything, every tragic, horrible thing.
Yeah. Well, so we're going to, for those who are wondering what we're going to be doing in our upcoming episodes, the current plan is obviously Fire Walk with Me next time. That's going to be in February. We're going to stick to a monthly schedule for a little bit until the new show premieres in May 21st, because we finally
May 21st on the calendar.
Yep. So
it's a Sunday.
Yep. So there's supposed to be, for those who don't know, Showtime, they're airing a 2 hour pilot episode for the new show. So we get 2 hours, just like we did back in the day for the first episode of both seasons, and which is great. And then they're going to put episodes 3 and 4 on demand.
So we can binge watch them?
We could
Yay!
we could binge watch. It's supposed to be on like right after. So the question is, well, gee, am I going to stay up all night and watch Twin Peaks?
The
Maybe.
answer is yes.
Might be taking off work Monday, just saying.
The answer is yes.
But we'll cover like by episodes weekly from that point on, obviously.
Yes. To cover the show, the episode,
Yeah.
each episode.
So our current.
And
go ahead.
no, I was just going to go through our current schedule. You
yeah,
fix
good.
that.
No, you can go ahead. You can go ahead and do that.
So February is going to be. I know what I just said about not being chronological about watching that, but we're going to do that about talking about it.
Yeah.
So we're going to do February. We're going to do Fire Walk with Me. March, we are going to discuss the pilot of the TV show.
The first season, yeah, the very first episode.
First episode, and then in April we will be discussing the final episode.
Yeah, the series finale. So it's kind of like a really quick run through of the series because we're doing
like I said,
movie pilot, series finale, and then the new stuff.
Don't watch it chronologically, but we're going to talk about it chronologically.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, because we figured it'd be better than just like trying to cram a whole 2 seasons in right before the show.
Right.
But you guys obviously can binge watch on your own and have fun doing it.
Please do. You'll have a fantastic time.
Have fun. Do it. I recommend watching Twin Peaks at night, preferably with stacks of donuts.
I recommend watching Twin Peaks whenever the hell you can.
Right.
As often as possible.
Right. I just think it's better at night because it's creepier.
It is creepier, but there's something creepy about something creepier during the day. You know, they both have their merits.
Like maybe on a rainy Sunday afternoon.
Something like that, yeah.
Yeah,
that would work.
Yeah, it definitely works good on rainy days. It's definitely a good rainy day show. All right.
And you don't have to feel guilty about not leaving the house because you're just going to be watching Twin Peaks the entire time because you will not be able to stop.
Yep. And then when you're done, you could just play our podcast back because we'll keep you in the mood.
Because we want you to hurt like we do.
Exactly. Deep hurting. Deep hurting. Had to throw that out there, Mystery Science Theater.
And on that MST3K note.
Yeah, and that note.
Next month.
Yep. So we'll see you next month. Xan, where can they find you on the interwebs before we say goodbye?
On the interwebs, I am on Twitter at Udinax19. I am on Facebook, Xan Sprouse. I'm on Instagram and Vine, Udinax19. I'm not there very often, but I'm there.
Even though they're shutting down Vine.
They are shutting down Vine, which I think is bizarre. I think it's all going to be Periscope. And, well, now that you can do video on Instagram, there's really no need for Vine.
Right. It's redundant.
So,
yeah.
It's a bit redundant.
Yeah.
So.
All right.
But, yep, where I am. What about you, Charles?
As for me, at Charles Skaggs on the Twitter machine, at Charles Skaggs on the Instagram, Google Plus for all you crazy kids on the Google Plus. Shout out to my other podcast co-host, Karen. Facebook, of course, and my blog, Geeky Things. Damn good coffee and hot.
Say it for me, Dale.
Yep. Let's hear it.
Damn good coffee. And hot.
There you go.
Yes.
How great is it going to be to hear that again, hopefully?
I have seen the pictures of him.
Yeah, we got a little teaser of Cooper. But that lapel pin troubles me. Because if you notice, his lapel pin is the inverted owl cave symbol.
It's very troubling. Yeah. It's very, very troubling.
And we know what inverted symbol means if you watch season 2.
I don't want to think about it.
That was the entrance to the Black Lodge. So
it's the entrance to the Black Lodge. It's a mirror image of our world, and it's not what they seem.
So that image of Cooper, I have to think, is either him in the Black Lodge or something.
Something bad.
Something not good for our hero.
Something not good. Nope.
Yeah. As for Ghostwood, of course, you can follow us at GhostwoodCast on the Twitter machine, or Ghostwood, the Twin Peaks podcast on Facebook.
And you can reach both of us there, too.
Yep, you can. Totally. Please give us some likes on Facebook and Twitter. That would be great. And share us to your friends. That would be awesome.
And subscribe to us, like us on your podcast downloading
devices.
Platform.
Yep, because we're obviously on iTunes. We're on Libsyn. I think we're supposed to be up on some other platforms too, like Google Play, and we're actually already on YouTube. So
good for us.
Yep. So you can listen to us there. Or you can, and if you want to get in touch with us, you can also email us at ghostwoodpodcast@gmail.com. So you can drop us a line like Jeff Gentry did on Facebook, or email, or what have you. And let us know what you think.
Thank you for listening, Jeff.
Yeah, thanks, Jeff. And hope you're still listening. And everybody, please give us a rating on iTunes. That would be great to help spread awareness of the show. And let us know what you think. So I think that about does it. So let's try and watch something cheery to kind of cheer ourselves up a little bit. Let's watch some Twin Peaks. How's that?
That sounds good.
I think that's
good. We'll watch some David Duchovny episodes.
Yeah, one little Denise Bryson.
Yes, and for those of you who don't know what I'm talking about and love the X-Files, you are in for such a treat.
Yeah. I would also recommend watching some episodes that have Albert Rosenfeld in memory of Miguel Ferrer.
Absolutely, and if you really want something cheerful and funny, go to YouTube and find some old episodes of On the Air. Some of the best dry comedy, and one of my favorite Miguel Ferrer projects ever. And rest in peace, Miguel Ferrer. Love and sympathy to your family.
Yep, all the best.
We'll miss you.
Yes, we will. And we're looking forward to seeing you, at least in spirit, once again in Showtime in May. So
yes, May 21st.
May 21st. It's coming back, people. We have a date. So
4 months.
Everybody get excited and start watching some Peaks. And we'll see you next time here on Ghostwood, the Twin Peaks podcast.
Bye,
everyone.
Everybody.